Has this meeting been noticed? The meeting has been posted and noticed according to law.
Thank you, I will.
All the trustees are noted to be present, except for President Bassett, who has excused herself. But it is her birthday. So I would like to, at this time, everyone look into the camera and say, what's that? And let's sing around happy birthday. Oh, really? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear President Rocket. Happy birthday to you. Okay. Now we will go to item number 4, special order of business, of which there are none. The next item is citizens to be heard. This item is for matters not on the agenda. Please step up to the microphone and state your name and address if there is anyone who would like to address item not on the agenda.
My name is Karen Owacki. Any address?
Yes.
Sorry, first time. First timer. 1824 East Kenwood Place. And I have copies for everybody that I can give you so I don't take up too much of your time. But I would like to oppose my neighbor putting in this.
And I apologize, you reached out and I did not get a chance to call you back. I apologize.
Because I just wanted to. So I have copies. I don't know if I have enough. Thank you. And pretty much everything's in there. And then a little bit of what I was just going to point out.
Okay, thank you.
Basically, I know Shorewood has now given the okay to have an application for beekeeping. My concern is my particular property is very close to my neighbors. I already have sent a letter to the village regarding my concerns, including having, you know, a friend and her daughter is allergic, and my neighbor across the street is allergic. We both garden, so I'm a gardener. I love my garden. I love being in my backyard. I have a pond in my backyard. It's about a 6 or 7 foot pond. Honeybees need a source of water. Now, I've been Googling and Googling and Googling to, you know, learn as much as I can before I opposed everything. But I still said no. Because he can't guarantee that my water source, all of a sudden I'm going to have these 1,000 bees come over and hang out in my backyard where I entertain them like to eat for the summer. I also have a lot of lavender and corn, you know, whatever. The types of flowers that they like alongside my house, in front of my house. Where he's going to locate it is pretty close to the sidewalk. I think now, though, he's going to have to move it. But last year when he tried to do it, he was going to put it against my fence because they need a 6-foot barrier. He was going to put it up against my fence that's my property right along my driveway. Now he's switched it a little bit. Last year, because more neighbors opposed it, he went off site and did his beekeeping. He has said it's a hobby, but he gets very defensive with me to the point where I loved them when they moved in. They're fairly new, not so new anymore. And, you know, we support each other because we're both here. He went off site and did it. And so if you have a hobby and you like to beekeep, he was fine. So when I asked him why he can't do that again this year, he said because it's 30 minutes away. If it's a hobby and it's what you love, I feel like you can go try it. Now, again, I've been told they're safe, they're safe, they're safe, they're safe. They're not going to bother you. But he's never done this. So there's no guarantee, and I don't know what's going to happen. The house on the other side now is becoming Airbnb. I mean, and I use Airbnbs. if that was the instance, like, and I came onto that property and I saw that there's like this beehive right here, I don't know, I would be concerned as well. But she said yes to it. I'm not sure why. I don't know if she knows that they're we don't know how that. But, so I've given you background. I guess what I'm asking is, right now, you know, I don't know, so it's with the application process really, is what it boils down to. Like how many people are needed, and why is it that he got the two sides and the neighbors north, but not my neighbors south, which would have opposed it. And then, you know, yes, he went to beekeeping school and got his, you know, and he did it off-site, but he's never done it in an urban setting where there's a lot of kids running around on that sidewalk. But there's this 6-foot flyaway barrier that needs to be in place, and I don't know that he has it. I have been told nothing else. I saw where he was going to put it. I still have the major water source. He can't tell me that they're not going to be loving my big pond with flowers in it at this point. I mean, I'm just being real. I don't know how many bees when I asked, like, are you talking 100? Are you talking 2? Because I don't know. He's like, more like 1,000, but it could grow. And then I've looked up, there could be the queen bee, and then another bee becomes the queen bee, and then all of a sudden they need to nest somewhere. I mean, there's all these concerns that I have that are not answered, and they weren't answered when I was here downstairs either. So, and I don't know when it's going to be put in, when it goes out, if it goes out, you know, the liability. If I have people over and I'm entertaining, like what that involves. The house across the street is for sale. They were unaware that this was going in, so, yes. I guess I'm asking if we look at the application.
Thank you. And you understand we can't comment on it tonight because it's
Yes, I do.
Thank you for providing the materials and your questions.
Pretty much what you needed. I don't know. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your time.
Can I just have Barb, what, we worked on this policy, so I should know this, but I don't recall. So if there's an objection, then what happens? You can administratively approve it, right?
Correct. If the objection has, it's not, you know, black and white per se, but if the objection has reason to believe that beekeeping can go on without it being a detriment to the neighborhood, it can still be approved. And that's what was interpreted with this particular application. He met all the criteria of his own water source, the distance, things like that. So based on that, we did approve the application and notified the neighbor, and that's why she was coming today. Just
so the appeal would go to Board of Appeals, correct, not to us?
Correct. It's an administrative decision
Okay.
of the staff.
Thanks.
Great. So that will be and so in terms of the resident, the concerns, that would be communicated, that it would go to the Board of Appeals for an appeal process direction. And then just to clarify, your request to the board is to avoid this in the future, to look at the application to make some changes so that.
Right, and maybe reinforce some of the things that concern me, because that's nowhere to be found. Like, I didn't find anything, nor was it talked to. Like, he didn't reassure me and say, yes, I'm going to put up the 6-foot barrier. Yes, I'm going to have more than a coffee cup or a bird bath of water.
Yeah, so it's, as far as those things, we can't obviously get into that tonight.
So I guess there's more
what
things that I would like clarified, how many there are going to be, when it's in, when it gets out. If I have problems, who do I see? You know, do I go back to the department and say, there's a swarm hanging out in my pond, what do I do? So I guess there's a lot of questions to be answered.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, we have the consent agenda. Consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to pull item F1, item G3, item I,
Okay, any others? Yes.
I'd like to pull in D.
Anything else? Okay, is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, removing
D, F1, G3, and I. So moved.
second,
all those in favor? Or any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. We will now take items removed from the consent agenda. Item D, consider RFP for crossing guard services. Trustee Carpenter. That's on.
So I just had one question. We talked a lot about the partnership with the school district and just the RFP for it, but I just wanted to know, where we were in that discussion and what is sort of the plan, especially in light of the current situation and everything that's happening
I was just going to say, I actually happened to see President Schock today, and she mentioned that she had put out a request, an invitation for a board meeting, and wanted to put this on the agenda for next week. I don't know what the status is, but I just wanted to say that I was aware of that, because I was going to bring it up at reports, but now I have to go for you.
Wonderful. Well, I was excited. That was on my list under my report. And also, I was speaking with President Rosa, she asked me to reach out to moving forward to assess your availability for, I think the school board requested for a Bible meeting to be Tuesday, April 23rd at 6 p.m. And the school has offered to host. So they have, suggested some items, one of which is, reviewing and hearing about the crossing guards. They did not take specific action to grant or deny the request, to my understanding, at their meeting on April 9th, but have requested us to meet. So I will follow up with the two of you on that, because they had asked to discuss the crossing guard contract and also vaping, which I know comes up under future agenda items of discussion, and then how we would be able to communicate regarding status updates on construction as they happen with regards to improvements of their facilities. So just some things that they wanted to talk about. So I have not seen the agenda, formal agenda at this point in time. I know in speaking with President Rosa today, she also wanted to list on their discussion about the election cycle. Just to start some discussion. I know Trustee Carpenter and President Rosa can have some discussion on it, so I'll look to the both of you to provide some more description, but as we prep for that. So if the two of you could let me know if you have availability on that night following the meeting, then I will follow up with the schools.
I think I'll be planning available. Secondly, what's the cadence on those meetings?
So from my understanding, my board has not met in several years. Has any of the Mercies and trustees jumped in?
say 18.
18 years.
No, in 2018.
Oh, in 2018. So I, since I've been here, I've never seen a by-board meeting, but I don't know. So this is my first one.
So I imagine we'll discuss at that meeting. We'll discuss.
Sure.
Historically, it was quarterly,
Really?
and then that.
We moved it to like semi-annually, and then we couldn't get.
Yes, right.
In the past, my boards were
we've had both, like some with just the white board representatives and others where we try to get both entire boards together.
Yeah, last year, I don't know who was on the by board, I think you two.
We didn't leave it all.
We didn't meet it all, but yes, I think you're correct, yeah.
Oh, okay, so, yeah.
So as that, as that transpires, and if a meeting does get settled, I'll make sure to let everybody know through the scope of the Friday update, but with the two of you, I'd be interested.
I think I am available, but and I did also talk with President Shaw about the election and stuff too.
Wonderful.
We've had some discussion
Okay,
about that as well.
great, I will confirm with the district when I'm available.
Okay, so that at that meeting, just to make sure that I'm understanding correctly. And I know I'm awful, so I'm gonna work to do better at that, but the RFP for crossing guards, that will be part of the discussion at the by board, is that the plan?
So I have not, all I saw listed was the discussion on crossing guards.
Okay.
I didn't hear any specificity towards the RFP.
Okay.
I can definitely provide them with documentation, our memo for example for tonight and the RFP. I was hoping that we could get to the first part, which was our request. So I would include with them tomorrow to Dr. Davis, our prior requests and then the supporting documentation. So that way, if you did want to discuss any of that component, that would be available.
I think that.
Okay, I'll bring copies.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on that item? Okay, so, what's the procedure for? We need a motion to approve that. Okay, so motion to approve the RFP for crossing guard services?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any against? Motion carried. Moving along, we have item 5.
So I just noticed on the proposal, it says the term of the contract was in TBD, was that your?
I think last year, if I remember correctly, the contract was for several years and then we modified it to be 1 year. So I wonder if that was intentional so that we could have some flexibility based on the discussion of the school district. Total presumption, but
That's a policy decision, I just wanted to point that out because you noticed that and you might get wildly different amounts to bid depending on the length of the meeting. You might get one rate for a year versus a better rate for 2 or 3. So I just wanted to make sure that wasn't a typo. Okay.
No, thank you for asking. I do remember that too, that we weren't comfortable with the 2-year contract on the typical. So
it's the understanding that the board is meant for the term to be 1 year.
I think that, I don't want to speak for the whole board, but I think that the thought was after this year that we were going to reevaluate, and then I think, what I would like to see happen is that we have a, better partnership with the school district and we can decide whether 3 years makes sense or, 1 year makes sense based on pricing from the contract.
Look forward to the by board meeting.
That's what's in the recollection.
So we shouldn't send the RFP until following the by board meeting to discuss timing? Maybe I didn't hear that, maybe I'm just asking.
I think we could probably get the RFP out there prior to the by board meeting, then have a discussion. I think getting the process rolling will be helpful at this point.
we probably shouldn't send it out with it.
To be determined in terms of term length.
Right. So that would be, we just
So
approved
what do we
it.
have to do then? Do we have to,
You can put an option in there, you can put in for, for them to provide.
how about we just voted, so do we have
Yeah, you
to,
could
what's
make
it
a
called?
motion to reopen it.
Yeah,
I mean, if there's a provision in Robert's Rules of Orders for sort of a scrivener's error or a mistake.
we did that before.
Yeah, we've done that, yeah, and it basically says if you catch it right away, you can reconsider.
Reconsider, I move to reconsider.
So you can reconsider.
All those, any discussion?
And then you would open it back up and then we'll make a motion.
Any discussion on the reconsider? All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Motion carries. So let's reconsider the RFP for the crossing guards. It was brought to our attention that the term for the contract in the RFP was not determined, so we need to give some direction on that. The options would be to pick a number of years for the length of the contract, or to do alternates.
Perhaps 1 year and 3 years?
I agree with that, let's just give it 2 alternates and see what they come back.
Okay.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Second, trustee Mentor.
No, I'm not saying.
I would second that we provide 1 year and 3 year alternates.
Okay, discussion, please.
I just want to point out that our hesitation last year was that we wanted to have further discussion with the school board. We have not had further discussion with the school board. Now I know the school board did discuss it at Tuesday, and I wasn't at that meeting, but I heard from people about the meeting. So I just want to say we are no farther along than we were last year when, so I personally would not vote in favor of more than another 1 year, because we have made no progress and had no discussion and are basically where we were a year ago.
Trustee Megan? I would say that we have had a year and I didn't have a problem or the need to have that discussion with the school board, so I'm comfortable voting on this evening. And I would say that as board members, you guys had a whole year to have this discussion, so I think that we need to make a decision. And I don't want to hold up, in light of the not having crossing guards or having the crossing guard company go out of business and also scrambling, I'm not even sure which crossing guard companies are available for this. So I think that, it's prudent for us to get on this sooner than later. And we can't also force another governmental body to act on something. So it's kind of incumbent upon us to make those relationships with the school district and have those conversations if we think we need to have them. I'm comfortable putting the RFP out as we've stated in the motion.
Other discussion?
I just want the board to be aware that there were several requests to have a by-board meeting made last year, and the school board was unable to accommodate any of our requests.
Any other discussion?
For clarity, so in the RFP, you would have the option for looking at 1 year, signing a contract for 1 year or 3 years to see if there was some financial break.
So we'd ask them to quote it both ways.
Right, this isn't a binding.
Correct.
Is there a reason we wouldn't go 1, 2, or 3?
I think the past would have gone 3, now we're talking more. Now we're talking more about a 1 year deal, so.
And that, well,
If you'd like to amend.
I'd like to amend can I amend the motion that I made?
If there's unanimous consent, otherwise it's a, otherwise
Forget it.
an amendment, and then you can vote on it.
So you're going to retract.
I'd like to amend the motion.
So a friendly
A friendly amendment to include a 2-year option as well, since we're asking for financials in kind of uncertain waters, given that we don't even have enough crossing guards this year.
I don't see a problem with
I
that.
don't agree with that.
Is there consensus?
I don't see a problem with it.
I'm not in favor of that.
And take a vote.
Okay. So you need to make a motion to amend.
I move to amend my motion to include a 2-year option in the 1 and 3 year.
Second.
Any discussion on that? All those in favor
Of the amended motion?
of the amended motion?
Oh, wait, no, the
To
amended.
amend the motion to include 2 years in addition to 1 and 3,
Thank you.
right?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries.
No, we have to vote on the amendment.
Now you go back to the amended motion.
Okay, now we're going back to the amended motion.
Now, why don't we restate the new motion?
The new motion is
To include bids for 1 year, 2 year, and 3 year for alternatives.
in the RFP.
In the RFP for crossing guard services.
So, any discussion on that? All those in favor Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Thank you.
Moving forward, item F, number 1. Consider application for special privilege approval for permanent seating in the sidewalk public right of way at Boo's Eggs 4195 North Oakland Avenue.
I had asked this to be pulled, first of all, I was a little confused. There is a request for the extension of the liquor license premises description. Is that still running in committee? Is that?
It'll be coming to the board on May 6th.
Okay, so this is, are these, I wasn't clear when I'm reading this, are these benches in like the concrete, or are they attached to the pavement? Or I couldn't get a full description of them.
They would need to be bolted down. They're currently just sitting on top of the pavement.
Okay,
They were approved last year as temporary benches on top of the pavement, and
Okay.
he has decided that he'd like to keep them out all throughout the winter.
yeah,
And so essentially, it's the same benches that were approved last year, but if they're to be permanent as in year-round, they would need to be secured to the right of way.
and this has been reviewed by the Department of Public Works. Are they okay with working around? They're on their property, aren't they?
It's on village, I think it's 8 inches on private property, and the remainder is on, I forget the measurement. It is on public property.
Oh, 8 inches or something? Okay.
It's a lesser amount, but yes. I've received no comments from Public Works regarding it.
Okay. I would move approval of the request for the special privilege permanent seating request.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 0. So moving on, G3, the atrium, consider application for special privilege approval for a loading zone in the public right of way at the atrium 2107 East Capitol Drive. Trustee Mara?
Yeah, I just needed some more information. It says they're gonna extend the loading zone by 26 feet from where, east of where it currently is. It appears that would put it, there's the building, then there's like this alleyway with a fence. Is that on the property of the atrium, the alley, the walkway, breezeway?
Well, I guess to be clear, the loading zone isn't public property, so, but I do believe it extends beyond their physical property line, if that were extended, correct. They've indicated the reason for the request, as I mentioned, is their typical trucks cannot get into that particular space up into that point, and so they've asked for it to be extended, essentially that planter area, for ease of loading.
Is that a semi length? I mean, these are large semis, 65 feet, is that a?
I'll be honest, I don't know, Paul's not here, I don't know the typical length of what is going in there, but I'm assuming it's catering vehicles, things of that nature, buses, limousines.
Okay. Is the neighbors provided a notification, is it beyond just the board agenda that the loading zone's being extended?
They have not been, no.
Is that required in our
It's
process?
not required per ordinance, I definitely could reach out to them beyond that, but no.
If it's not in our ordinance, I mean, it's a nice courtesy, but I don't know, if it's not in our ordinance, then I don't know that we could weigh that in consideration. Trustee Menta?
How many parking spaces in total is this loading zone?
So I believe the total length is 65 feet, which is approximately, I would say four vehicles, depending on the size of those vehicles, 18 feet a vehicle.
And what are the hours of the loading zone?
So he's requesting to keep the same hours, so they are,
Seven AM to 2 PM Monday through Thursday. 10 AM to 12 AM Friday or something.
Thank you. Ms. Paul?
Yeah.
Do you mind coming and saying your
Donna Pollock, 4395 Northdale Plain. I'm
You might
concerned.
in the microphone because it's for recording purposes.
It's for transparency.
Oh. Thought I was speaking loud enough.
No, it's just, it's for our.
Donna Pollock, 4395 Northdale Plain. I thought there was, over the years, that our village had determined that you would notify neighbors, whether it's a business next door, I mean, I remember the situation in Oakland, that they were proposing a change in parking. So I would assume there's the Art Deco building, there's the cleaners, there's businesses there. I would assume they should be notified just as a courtesy. I mean, I don't care what our policy says, it's just a courtesy.
Oh, I'm not saying that we, are you responding to my comment or just in general?
Well, I think you had indicated that you thought it wasn't a policy to notify you.
I apologize. I was clarifying whether it was part of the ordinance to have sort of like a public hearing from the, we can notify anyone as a courtesy, but if it's not in the ordinance that is a criteria, then we wouldn't need to wait for consideration of the item.
Okay.
That was my clarification.
I guess I'm
It's not a
asking that you
statement.
wait for consideration, because I just think it would be important for the other businesses and the apartments, all of that to have.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
I would like, since we approved the other 3 loading zone applications, were they all handled the same?
Correct.
Okay, so we would be singling out one business in this situation.
I would agree. The only difference I would suggest is the other 3 weren't asking for a change, and so perhaps the extra notification wouldn't have been as necessary. This is a change, so that's the one difference I would point out.
Mr. DeVito?
I'm Jeff Davidian at 4101 North Prospect. I heard a question, what kind of vehicle is going to be parked there, and the answer was an assumption. I don't know that you should grant things on assumptions. It's probably a better idea to get the facts and make a decision based on facts and not taking an assumption as part of the decision-making process. That's all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Trustee Menton?
I remember when this came up last year, that I was concerned about availability of parking in that area, and that concern was kind of dismissed. We are doing a parking study that might answer that question. I know certainly when I go to City Market for lunch sometimes, it's hard to find a parking spot frequently. And we're giving this business exclusive use of 4 parking spaces, on the block near several other businesses. I would imagine the nail place cuticles has similar issues of customer parking. This is the longest business zone in comparison with any of the others. I'm not sure how much business they even are doing Monday through Thursday. I would like to have more information about that. So I wasn't in favor of it last year, and I'm not in favor of it this year either. Yes, Trustee?
So last year when we discussed this as well, and I believe both the applicant and several members of his family and staff were here, and they did mention that there were catering trucks and other at the wedding and event planning space. So there were a variety of recommendations. I'm not saying that I'm considering doing this at this point, but we did have the facts on what kind of vehicles were mentioned at the time, and I know the nature of the business has not changed in this year. So anyway.
I guess my question is just looking at the one that we approved for Metro Market. If their loading zone is 58 feet, this one they're asking for 65. And I would, again, this is an assumption, but I would think that the Metro Market would have much larger semis for delivery. My concern is this is a really, it's the entire front of that building, which is, it's in the heart of our business district. And so I guess that's where I'm struggling with just the size in comparison to other request.
And I was just trying to come to a summary here. It sounds like there's a number of trustees who are pretty uncomfortable with extending this loading zone. I mean, I guess just thinking out loud, perhaps this is something we put off until next meeting until we can notice the neighbors, notice the businesses around, and get a reaction, understand exactly what kind of trucks are coming and loading, unloading, and then make a decision at that point.
I mean, I'd be fine with that. There is one more application coming to you next meeting that didn't come in time for this packet, so loading zones will be on once again for next meeting. And technically, this doesn't go into effect until May 1st anyways, so I think the next board meeting is May like 5th or 6th, so it's not a huge timing issue in my estimation. That's just my opinion. In response to the Metro Market one, their loading zone is located next to their loading dock. They're so that the zone itself doesn't include that 20 feet of driveway. So there's probably in actuality there's probably is bigger when you include that area. Just for what it's worth. So it is typical perhaps that a larger truck. And their application to the atrium of the application does indicate the types of vehicles. I was just speaking out of memory. Their application does. We contemplate deliveries, drop-offs, catering, and group transportation. The loading zone is critical to our operation, so they've indicated it's for catering and group transportation. But I'd be happy to talk with the applicants to provide more information if required.
It'd be good to provide the applicant an opportunity to be available to answer questions. Also to get some information on where that property actually ends, so there's not, are we extending the loading zone into a neighboring properties front on the street?
Also nice to give courtesy notice to the neighbors.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And do we give courtesy notice? Not that I'm against courtesy notice. Don't want to go on record as that, but just if we didn't do it with the other applicants.
The only thing I can provide, once again, since this is changing the conditions, so I think that would be acceptable in this case, it's my opinion. And to another question that was raised, you can also confirm whether or not he actually meets on Monday, Tuesday, those specific days of the week, because all that should be up for consideration. So that was the whole purpose of the loading zone review, was that previously it was by ordinance and it kind of just stuck whether or not it was needed or not, depending on the needs of the business. So perhaps they found out that they don't need it on certain days for the same hours. So I think all those are great questions to ask, and I'm sure they'd be happy to provide information for you.
Do we have to make a motion to defer the agenda?
That would be my recommendation. It's better than tabling because then you have to formally remove it off the table. So if someone makes a motion, they would just decide when they would want it to be re-agenda for and say motion to defer to X date. And then you can vote on it and then it would be reflected in the agenda and then or in the minutes as well.
I was going to move to defer to the May 6th meeting.
Second?
Discussion.
What was the date again that would go into effect?
May 1st.
Okay.
Any other discussion? See a hand. Mr. DeVitney.
I'm sorry, I can't help myself. Maybe you should have an ordinance that requires noticing people, so that each time you don't have to ask, have we notified, or whether it's a courtesy. It seems that in a progressive place where things affect everybody, you would probably want to be considerate.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My pleasure.
All right, any other discussion? We'll call the question. Well, we don't have to call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Against? Okay, 6-0. All right. 6I or G? No. Oh, letter I. Consider special event permits, short-term cabaret license, and temporary extension of permits for 3 Lions Pub, 4515 Michaelwood Avenue, for multicultural soccer block party, July 7th, 2019. So this is, Trustee Mark.
I believe this is a new event, and I just think it would warrant some board discussion, since we seem to have close the Kensington Square area quite a bit here. We just got done with the shenanigans. I just wonder, I mean, if there's a good description of some pulling in some very important public issues, but I mean, at what point, how often, have any neighbors responded? I mean, how often do we close the street there? Is there a limit to how many we're gonna close?
Well, as you know, we have no policy.
I know.
Trustee Meyer, you were in the committee.
I know, this is,
So it is completely at board discretion.
right.
I am trying to find the material in the board packet, that's why I'm scrolling. So, your thought, you would like to have board discussion?
Board discussion, has there been was there notice to the neighbors?
We've not sent anything out yet. I was kind of waiting to see how this went and if you had any questions.
Yeah, I believe that's a point of clarification in the policy moving forward, is whether notice has to be given before the applicant comes before the village board. And since we don't have a policy right now, that's not required,
Okay.
but we could make that a requirement and just allow them. What's that?
If we were to do that, we would have to apply that unilaterally to all businesses and special events.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And I don't,
Trustee Menton. Don't worry, we'll get to this.
I agree, in that I'm just getting, we have the village events, but I assume we're doing our concerts in Hubbard Park, we have the 4th of July, we have the criterion. I know the bid has come up with three new events this year. I know there's an art organization that wants to do like an art thing on Oakland Avenue. So, and now we have to pack this. I mean, we just have a lot of events, and I'm a little bit worried that we don't have a master calendar anywhere. And I mean, if we're at the point where like twice a month in the summer we're closing off summer another part of Oakland Avenue, we don't have the totality, and that concerns me a little bit. I mean, I'm all for women's soccer, and I think this is a great idea, and I'm in favor of it, but I think we need to have a schedule and have some idea and have all these different events on there. The farm, are we still doing the vending thing in front of Metro Market that we did last summer? I mean, I don't know, it would be nice to have something that shows the use of Oakland Avenue and events generally in the village for the whole summer.
Trustee Ward?
Rebecca, would that be included as part of, I know we're drawing a policy, could that also be part and parcel of that work to make sure we have both the policy and kind of this master calendar to show us when it's taking place?
Sure. And to some of the prep work we done for the next meeting is to take a look at the last 2 years, which were some special events and what's been there, the cost of those from a resource perspective, and then also to kind of reflect what are some general events that would come up and baseline cost for that. So I don't think that should be a big deal.
And although this is only slightly related, if board members who are not on the Community and Business Relations Committee have suggestions for the policy, since it was the draft policy, since it was in our packet, please forward those so that we can consider them along the way.
Is there any estimate of is there a request to have village services support this event and what the cost of those are? Or is the applicant going to pick up the cost of those, or has that been discussed yet with village staff?
Let's see, that's not in our memo, right?
I think the only prospect is possibly Public Works, and she said she would just be willing to do the trash.
Okay, but no police.
Security.
So, Mr. Price, if you'd like to, Chief Nimmer?
We reviewed the application based on the event and the past World Cup event they had. We feel that there was needed to be dedicated police service there. That doesn't mean that we won't have somebody monitoring it, but I don't think it's a requirement to have somebody on overtime to be there.
So it's just a recommendation.
And I always throw the caveat that things could change, right? And the event could change and it could grow to where we felt we needed somebody there, and that could always change. And so we're always looking at that as a possibility. But at this point, reviewing the application, we didn't feel that we needed to have a dedicated person on overtime to be at the event.
So your recommendation is that on-duty officers would monitor the event and that that's within scope?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Thank you, I do remember reading that now.
And Public Works is not requesting funds to recover time spent on trash removal.
Okay, so to your point, trustee Mar, it seems like it was discussed, it was considered, and but it's not being included in memo to us. So do we, I wanted to give Mr. Price a chance to, and a chance to.
You all know I like
present
to
the-
talk. You all know I like to talk
Right,
too
right, right.
much.
I wanted to get, so you knew
Yeah,
what the
what the
board
concerns
members
are.
wanted.
And everything you said is absolutely fair. That is actually one of my concerns. Even in the policy request, I actually said there needs to be some standards, but the way I view it is I think it's very important that you guys were elected by people in the community to make the best decisions for the community. So I feel as though there has to be the opportunity for things to come to you rather than going to individual boards. And then it's common sense decisions. So for us, I can tell you now, I've never put on a bad event. I've never put on an event that has not done what I said it was going to do. So I only do this if I think it's going to benefit the community. And often I'm the one stood here talking. But what I would like to iterate to the board is, whilst Three Lions' name's on that, the only people who benefit on that is not just Three Lions, it's North Star, it's Thief, it's Collectivo, it's Indulge, it's every business around us, you know. So I think when it comes to these things, like I'm not looking to do this every year, and every year I've got always some sort of unique event going on, and it's just the way, if you're not a soccer fan, you probably don't get this, but it's sometimes the way the schedule works out. The reason, if this was just the Women's World Cup, I probably wouldn't have come forward. The reason why I really wanted to come forward is because it is the Women's World Cup, we have an opportunity to celebrate females in sport, which I think is a great thing. But on top of that, right after that is the Copa America, which the USA are playing in, and it's all South American teams with some, it's actually a lot of the former allies with the US, so Japan's in it and things like that. And then right after that is the MLS Gold Cup. So there's 3 finals in one day, and it just so happens that this happened with the World Cup. And we want to do a big thing for the women in the World Cup. So that was why I put it out there, and it's not something that I'm going to stand on my soapbox and say you guys have to do this, because I understand that we have got a few things going on this year. What I do urge you to step back and just take a think is, do we want to celebrate women in sports? Here's a great opportunity to do it. Do we want to celebrate world culture? Here's a good opportunity. And second, and thirdly, surely it's in the best interest that as the board, you guys have to ask yourself, is it beneficial to bring in, you know, top end, I think 10,000 people will come in throughout the course of the day. Realistically speaking, I can guarantee 4,000 to 7,000 people will come into Shorewood, along with the media and the press exposure. And I think as the board, that's kind of one of those things that the trade-off to inconvenience somebody on the block. And I can say the majority of the residents around us actually come in all the time, and I'm sure you've seen the emails. They appreciate and enjoy these events. But I do think as a board it comes down to right, who are we inconveniencing for this, and does those 2 factors outweigh it? And if you guys decide that's not the case, that's fine, but you have my assurance that any time I've come forward, it's because I feel this event is a good event for the community, and there are far more people that benefit than just us. It's just because we are a football club, we've got that British aspect to it.